You see Ian?
Recording in progress. Oh,
Yeah,
somebody
so
recording.
we're now recording. I'm now recording this.
Okay.
So
Okay,
that
so
was
who-
that was
so I see
that was
Lewis.
that was my end.
Okay, so I see you. Hi, Matt. I said hi, Lewis, and I forget the other gentleman's name that's
Ian?
been on here before.
It's Ian.
Ian, yeah. Let me say hi to Ian officially.
Hi, how are you?
There he is.
Hey,
Hi, Ian.
you
Ian's a
doing?
true. You can hear Ian lives in New York. You're right in the heart of it, aren't you?
Oh, I'm right here in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear. My husband lived in Brooklyn. We talked about this last time, didn't we?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He was in Greenpoint for 35 years.
35 years. Wow. I was born in Greenpoint, the hospital, anyway.
not me. I was born way off from there.
He was born in Canada, but he lived in Greenpoint. Hey, can we talk about the Polish donuts? Hey, the Polish donuts that come out at 5 in the morning and they're nice and hot from the bakeries in Greenpoint. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I've heard about it, but I've never seen it though. No.
Really? Or the fresh bread that they come out in the morning and you smell the bread bacon in the morning in those bakeries in Greenpoint.
Oh, they left.
Wow.
They left
You
already.
don't know those, Ian?
Well, no, I was born there, but because the doctor that was his hospital. But I've always lived down here in Sheepshead Bay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What
Okay.
about Kruszczyki?
Kruszczyki. Do you know what that is?
Chicky?
Mike?
Kruszczyki, it's like angel hair. It's like a wafer with powdered sugar on it.
No, I'm afraid I don't. No.
Okay.
All right. Well, when we talk desserts, Henry's the expert on desserts. So Henry knows about fresh baked donuts when they're fresh coming, right, Henry?
I know a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, Henry. Stop lying, Henry. Your nose is growing. Oh, it's pointing at it's hitting the screen. Oh.
I went to a wine testing exhibit.
Uh-oh, who is coming on board?
It was really
Oh,
nice.
Looks like we have another guest.
Oh, Harris.
Harris.
Hey,
What's
Harris.
up, boy?
Oh man,
You gotta
Hello,
turn his mic on.
Harris, can you see us?
my arm hurts.
and I think
He can see us. He can't hear us.
How you? The lady with that gentleman, she's an old friend of mine. Laura Hawthorne.
hi, Laura.
Hey,
There's Harris.
hey, listen.
Hey,
Hey,
Matt.
listen. Henry, you know that package I sent you in the mail today?
Yeah,
Can you make sure that everybody gets one?
sure.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you don't mind, you have plenty to do that. And maybe I don't know how to send one package and then everybody can get one instead of you having to do it yourself. But we'll talk about it later. But anyway, there may be something special for you guys coming soon
Oh,
me.
thank you so much.
from me and Henry.
Oh,
Harris,
that's cool.
she's a great singer. She sang the anthem in many stadiums.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
used to live in Poughkeepsie.
Not
Henry-
far from here.
Oh
lives
yeah,
near
yeah.
Poughkeepsie.
We got married. We got married in Poughkeepsie in the Poughkeepsie Grand Hotel. We got married there.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
My
good.
mom's great aunt lived in Poughkeepsie for years.
yeah.
Now you
We
lived
used to
in
go up
Tivoli,
there, go
right?
sledding off the hill. Yeah. She used to get like tons of snow. We used to go sledding off the hill as kids.
I know Laura has the lead, but Hoppy, can you play that thing that she gave us last year?
I will do that now. So we'll get
I
started.
can sing
from
it.
here.
I can sing it right now instead of you playing it.
You wanted
Actually,
to sing it,
I'm
Hoppy?
gonna play the actual special video you sent me, Laura.
Oh, the
so
one where I'm outside? Okay.
In your
apparently, yeah.
backyard.
All right. So
It's actually my
without
front-
further
my-
ado, let's get
Uh-oh.
started. I'm gonna share my screen.
There he is. Matsky.
All right, here we go. Without further ado, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, say can
Sorry if the volume might be a little low.
By the dawn's early.
Actually, let me just restart that.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?
whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Play ball.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Hey, I want to say something to you guys. This is something when someone coached me on how to pronounce words when I did the national anthem. I've been singing this for a long time, since I was a teenager. I was in some beauty pageants and stuff, and I used to make appearances at baseball games when I was a teenager, and I used to sing the national anthem all different places. And I remember one of my friends saying, when you say the word perilous, it's spelled P-E-R-I-L-L-O-U-S, right? Perilous. If you listen when people sing the national anthem, almost 9 times out of 10, nobody says that word right. They say
I was gonna say it sounds like a I rather than O-U-S.
but the word is pronounced perilous. But a lot
Yeah.
of people say that word, they butcher that word. They say perilous, perilous, perilous. They say
Yeah.
all kinds of different things. And I remember my friend made sure she told me how to correctly pronounce that one word. So I'm always very careful with that word. Anyway, that's all.
Very cool. I got quite a bit that I have on my notes that we're gonna cover, so I'm gonna continue with this.
All right, I'm gonna sign off because I'm in the middle of packing and I got to keep going.
Okay.
But,
Again-
God
again,
bless
this
you
is-
guys.
Yeah.
God
Again,
bless
this
you
is
all, and-
recorded, Laura, so I'll definitely send it to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Bon
And
voyage.
Henry's gonna have a surprise for everybody too. And God bless you guys. Stay healthy, stay well, and we'll talk next time.
Have a
You
wonderful
too.
trip.
Have a great one.
Thanks,
Have a
Laura.
good one.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. All
Bye.
right. Love you, Henry. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Laura.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Laura. Bye, Mike.
Bye.
All right, guys, so we're gonna keep this rolling. This I've been wanting to show. This I recorded, and I've been telling you guys about it a lot, especially Harrison. I mean, I'm sorry, Ian and Louis and Henry, of course. But this, I really been talking so much about this. I want to show you guys. So, Yep. Hold on 1 second. All right, my videos. And without further
Gratitude.
ado,
And there's a long list of people, but obviously the Yankees are.
it's just going to be a little glitch at the beginning
Rachel
because I did.
Always been. They've been very progressive for a really long time, and obviously that's led to a lot of success. And it's just, I'm just, again, feeling a lot of gratitude for them, but also thinking back to the early days of my career with the St. Louis Cardinals and Pete Prinzi and Renee Pena hiring me as a strength and conditioning coach when there were no women around, so it was very much the dark ages in that regard. And they were really pioneers in hiring me as a female that was going to be working with all of the players and also making them run conditioning and do those things, which is very difficult. So you know, for them to put trust in me back then in 2012 and 2014, that was a huge step for me in my career. And then obviously just feeling gratitude for my family, my parents who raised me to be a competitive athlete, not a woman or a man, but just to be competitive and capable and aggressive. And all of those things have obviously led to where I'm at today. So just feeling very grateful for a lot of people today.
Thank you, Rachel. We can start with questions. We'll do some low-hanging fruit for me since I know some of these people. Jake Seiner from the Associated Press. Please unmute.
Hey, Rachel, congratulations. My question for you is just how would you describe your style of strategy and strategy for communicating and connecting with players? What's worked for you in your 10 years in baseball so far, just getting to know people and getting to lead people?
You know, there's a lot of things that have worked and a lot of things that haven't worked. And I think that's the story with any coach. And so I really think as a coach of young men or just young people in general, being direct and being clear about your standards and being clear about what you want is probably going to end up pretty well. Being honest and upfront is really kind of my style. And I think anyone who's worked with me or for me or whatever would agree with that, is that I'm pretty direct and just straightforward about what I want or how I feel about what's going on. And I think that, you know, might be painful up front, but ultimately leads to really fast moving conversation about, you know, things good or bad. So I would say my leadership style is definitely very direct.
We go next to Lindsay Adler with The Athletic.
Hey, Rachel, you know, I think this is probably the most attention a low A manager has ever gotten for this hiring. What do you make of the attention, and what do you make about some of the discussion about like your qualifications and your background and sort of how you fit into this larger player development ecosystem?
I think first off, you know, I've been in baseball for 10 years, so it feels a little interesting to me that there's so much attention now, but obviously, you know, society's changed, the world has changed, social media has changed. And so we're celebrating women in sports in general a lot more than we ever were in 2012 when I first got in. But also just the comments and, you know, some of the negativity, which I hear more from my sisters than I actually read, you know, but I think it's interesting. You know, 3 years ago on this day, I was sleeping on a mattress that I had pulled out of a dumpster in Amsterdam. And, you know, 4 years ago, I was studying physics flashcards on the floor of a bathroom stall in the San Antonio Missions women's restroom because I wasn't able to fit in the clubhouse, you know. And I think it's interesting to me because I don't understand the negativity. Like, if you know my story and you have a pulse, I think it's pretty hard not to get behind what's going on here. And I just, you know, if you know yourself and you know where you came from, it doesn't really matter, you know. So that's how I kind of deal with the negativity or anything that I hear coming my way. It's hilarious to me because it's, you know, it's the American dream. There's definitely been some dark times in my career that I've been able to overcome myself and with support of those around me. So I think that everybody can enjoy a piece of my story.
We can go next to Brian Hoke with Yankees.com.
Hey, Rachel, congratulations. Could you just go into, I guess, the timeline of how this opportunity came about? Like, did you approach them? Did you express opportunity in the job? Or did they come to you?
I think Kevin's going to be a better person to answer that question eventually. But my timeline was, you know, it was getting middle of December, and obviously there's been some change in our organization and contracts are being discussed. And I had stopped down in Tampa to see a player, and you know, Dylan Lawson said, hey, you know, Kevin wants to talk to you about being a manager. And I didn't really have much time to think about it. So, you know, Kevin really is the brainchild behind all of this. And he approached me and we had a talk, and I just kind of said, look, I'm going to make mistakes. I need support. And I think they kind of were like, yeah, duh, you know, we're here to support you. And we see you, you know, in a leadership position. And that was really middle of December. I frankly was very focused on being a hitting coach. You know, I hadn't had this in my mind. I thought, okay, I'm going to be a hitting coach. I was kind of envisioning myself in that role next year. And credit to the Yankees and to Kevin Reese for coming to me with the idea.
Thank you.
Brendan Cuddy, NJ.com, please unmute.
Rachel, congratulations. What should players expect from you as a manager?
I think they already know, thankfully, in our organization. It's been awesome to have a lot of guys reaching out and congratulating and saying they're excited. And they already know, it's going to be definitely high standards and very clear standards. And if something goes on that's not, for the good of the team, they're going to hear it from me. And I think it's, again, just going back to honesty and being direct with them and, hoping for the same. So they can definitely expect some loud music in the clubhouse. They already know that, just a fun environment. One of my passions is creating a really competitive environment. And sometimes that's lost in the minor league system. The wins aren't always on the forefront of everyone's minds. It's about development. But for me, it's like, how do we get these guys to compete every day? And really, even though, the wins maybe don't matter as much as the major league level, getting every day to matter and every practice to matter, that's really what I'm passionate about.
Move next to Ken Davidoff at the New York Post.
Hey, Rachel, congratulations. Are you fully recovered from that Jared Kelenic foul ball?
Yeah, if anyone's wondering, I'm actually practicing on some agility so I can jump out of the way next time. Fielded some ground balls barehand. So yeah, I'm recovered and hopefully my reaction time has increased since then.
But I do want to ask you about a player from that Futures game, Jason Dominguez, and just what you saw in the second half of last season. And I would think there's a chance you'll be managing him in 22.
Yeah, I always just want to direct the attention to him as a person. I think that the conversation very much is, okay, he can hit the ball hard. Like we all know that, but I think that less people understand the type of person he is. He's a phenomenal person in the clubhouse. His aptitude is so high. He wants to learn. I mean, we're literally doing off-season English classes right now. We're not really, him and I aren't even talking that much about baseball. We're talking about English classes so he can be a better person in the clubhouse, be a leader for both Latin American and American players in his future. And I think I always want to direct the conversation that way because, everyone knows his baseball talent. That's obvious, but I think behind closed doors, people need to understand that's a really special person. And what he brings to the clubhouse from a character standpoint is phenomenal.
Thanks, Rich.
Go next to Pete Caldera with the Bergen Record.
Hi, Rachel. You've talked in the past about your aspirations of wanting to be a major league general manager. Is that still part of your long-term goal? And was being a field manager ever part of the process in your mind towards your long-term goals?
That's very much so still in my mind, but I understand that's a very long-term goal. It's just, we all have those in our mind of just seeing 10, 15 years down the line. My thought originally getting out of strength and conditioning, going back to school for a second master's degree was always to be still an on-field coach. So I thought the first step was being a hitting coach, getting closer to on-field evaluation, understanding trade value, understanding all of those conversations that I wasn't a part of, as a strength and conditioning coach. And frankly, I thought, scouting was going to be necessary. But we're living in a different time. Scouting has changed. Scouting is a lot of video and analytics and seasoned eyes. And I think that, the way that general managers are right now, there's a lot of people who have had that as a path. But I do see an opportunity for an on-field coach who spent a lot of time in player development, boots on the ground, working with players. That can also be a value in the front office. And especially right now, it could be something that's unique. So right now I'm just focused on, okay, I'm a hitting coach and now I'm a manager. Like this is where I'm going to stay. I don't really have a timeline for when I would leave, but I just know in the future that leadership in the front office is definitely present in my mind.
Thank you.
We'll take a few more from our beat crew and then move along to others who have their hands raised. We can go next. I know Sweeney Murdy was here. Sweeney Murdy from WFAN.
Hi, Rachel. Congratulations. Nice to talk to you. You mentioned how your sisters kind of inform you of what's going on. I'm curious, in your years coaching already, have you had any pushback from players that you've coached and how you've dealt with it? How have their teammates maybe stood up for you or did things? What kind of things have you seen already in your time as a coach?
In 10 years, so little. It's like, I don't know if I've crossed paths with several thousand players personally right now, so little that it's not even worth mentioning. And I think that, you know, the outside perception is always the thing. You know, when players meet me, I think probably there's a level of curiosity, which, like, you know, that's normal. Change is change. I was curious. I'm like, geez, what am I gonna look like in a uniform? Like, I was curious, like, myself. So I'm not gonna blame anyone for being curious or not really understanding the situation. But I just know within 5 minutes, you know, I walk into the room, the presence that I have, how I speak confidently. You know, I'm bilingual, and that's something that I learned. I wasn't born into I'm from Nebraska. I was not born into a bilingual home. I've worked to learn that. And so as soon as I open my mouth and start speaking, I'm speaking in Spanish and English, and they hear what I'm saying, and it's, you know, it's aligned with what everybody else is saying, and they know I know I'm talking about, it all just goes away. You know, so it's just so fast. That level of curiosity is like, oh, okay, it's not a big deal. And that's on the inside. You know, the players that I've worked with, whether they like me, they don't like me, they like what I'm saying, they don't like what I'm saying, I do feel like they respect me. And at the very least, they know that I'm passionate, hardworking, and I know what I'm talking about. Whether they like it or not, you know, is a different story, and every coach goes through that. So it's been so small. I think most of the times it's outside perceptions. It's people who haven't met me, who don't understand how a woman could get the respect of these young guys. Like, that's fine. You know, I don't need that. I have players texting me right now saying congratulations and how happy they are. And it's like, okay, I don't need to have other people understand it. You know, just focusing on the Yankees and the players and the coaches within the organization.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Go to Laura Albanese with Newsday.
Sorry about that. Hey, Rachel, you talked a little bit about the trailblazers around you, Gene Ackerman, Kinning. I was wondering if you were able to talk to them in regards to just the heightened expectations and just the realities of being a more high-profile woman in this profession.
I haven't been in touch with them yet. However, I know Gene's reached out, so it's been a bit of a whirlwind. And I've talked to Gene before, and honestly, I've known about them since I first got into baseball. And so, especially if you know Gene, and I'm sure all the people on the call do, she doesn't play, you know, and so it's clear that how she's gotten respect over the years. It's clear why she's been around for so long, and that's definitely something I draw on. Like, she's definitely how do I say this? She's definitely a firecracker, you know, and she's inspired me also to be myself and not, you know, shy away. It's not just about having a seat at the table. It's about speaking up when you're at the table, and she most certainly does. So it's something that I paid attention to over the past decade for sure, and she's someone that I look to for guidance.
Michelle Steele, thank you for being patient. You have the next question from ESPN.
Thanks, Jason. Rachel, congratulations on your new role and the work that it definitely took to get here. I wanted to ask about your goals for the upcoming year, whether it's, you know, getting guys promoted to the next level, wins or losses, guys buying into the process. How do you define success for yourself this year?
My goal is to know, really to know the names of the girlfriends, the dogs, the families of all the players. My goal is to develop them as young men and young people who have an immense amount of pressure on them. My goal is to support the coaches that are on the staff who are going to be talking more, you know, nuts and bolts of pitching and hitting with them and defense. It's really just to be a supporter and to facilitate an environment where they can be successful and just design the environment, you know, and let the rest take care of itself. So it's really just focusing on the person, and obviously you need good knowledge. You need coaches that know what they're doing and can communicate well. The data and the information that we have can communicate that well to the players. And in this role, it's, you know, I'm more of a facilitator, and I know I'll still have a heavy hand in hitting, but also it's more of a leadership position, and that's what I'll be focused on, just to get to know the guys as well as I can, so they feel comfortable. And like I said, you know, ready and able to handle the amount of pressure that they have every day in their lives.
Mark Topkin, please unmute. Mark is from the Tampa Bay Times.
Got it. Thanks, Rachel. Rachel, do you think there's any benefit that there's going to be more attention, as we've just talked about on this call, that you're doing this in Tampa, where you're familiar with the staff, the facility, you've got the organization leaders right there with you?
I mean, yeah, it's absolutely a benefit. I love Tampa. It's been great being there, and I'm knowing some of the community members and just getting to know the town and the city. It's really a phenomenal place to be, and obviously having our complex right there is going to be really helpful. I'm obviously going to need support. There's no hiding that. And to have a lot of our staff members there that can just hop over and have a conversation anytime is going to be really helpful.
And just a quick follow-up, you guys do a lot of your rehab players sometimes come there. Is that something that you will see as a different challenge to deal with, an Aaron Judge or whomever on a rehab assignment?
No, I've just had such positive experiences in the past with rehab players coming through and just being great, role models and resources for the guys. It's always a great time when a major league player comes through an affiliate and can talk to them, give them some good spread, get them some good food, maybe better than some of the minor league parks that we experience. And it's always a pleasure. It's always a good thing when they come through. I don't see it being more of a challenge, but it's a great opportunity.
We go next to Katie Beck, NBC Nightly News. Katie, go ahead.
Okay, hi there, Rachel. I'm not sure if you remember me. I interviewed you back in 2019. We did a profile piece on you.
Of course.
And at that time, nice to see you again. I think of that interview so fondly in the dugout there in Tampa, and really enjoyed my time with you. But I remember in that conversation, you were detailing how when you were first interviewing for jobs as a strength coach, people would love your resume and then they'd hear a female voice on the line and they'd say, no, thanks. And actually one person was bold enough to say, I want to hire you, but my administration is not willing to hire a woman. Just curious if you think today that same scenario would happen. Have we made progress on that front? Or would another female in that situation face the same hurdle?
The bias and stereotypes are going to be around forever, but I do think we've made a ton of progress. I mean, there's going to be 11 women in uniform next year. Looking back on those days, it would have been incomprehensible to understand what the next decade was going to look like for myself and for others. And I do think we've made progress. In the numbers, obviously, there's going to be 11 women in uniform, but also just the way that people react to me and the way that they, talk to me, and it's becoming more normal. It's pretty apparent, and it's just exciting to see how much progress we've made. We definitely have a lot of room to grow, but it's really exciting. I think there were many times in my career where I felt extremely lonely, and I literally didn't have anyone to call who might have been going through the same experiences. Like when I started, there were no nutritionists, no mental skills coaches, and so those opportunities for women weren't around, and I felt really lonely at times. And now it's like I've got 100 women that are out there in various roles that are having similar experiences, and it just feels incredible to have that type of support from other people who maybe understand your path. So yeah, I do feel like there's been a lot of progress made.
Well, congratulations on breaking another ceiling. I'm sure it won't be the last time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Peter Savasio, good to see you. Fox 5 New York, please unmute.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, Rachel. Congratulations. Rachel, you mentioned earlier how players reached out to you, congratulating you. I was curious if you would share maybe some of the names, or even going further, has there been someone that reached out to you that has said something that's really meant a lot for this moment in history with this historic hire?
I mean, yeah, I think Billie Jean King would fall into that category. It's just like, okay, I can die now. My career's over. Billie Jean King congratulates me. And also like Gene Afterman. It's someone that is in the game, in our organization, someone that I've looked up to for a long time, who reaches out, and those things mean a lot. And it makes all the difficult times really worth it to know that you are paying it forward, that what they did for me, I'm able to do for somebody else. And as as far as the guys go, it's shouldn't be any surprises here because I worked with a lot of these players, but it's like Marcos Cabrera and Salinas, Jason, Andres Chaparro, like, a lot of the players that I've worked with closely who, are reaching out, and I'm like, well, I hope that we get to work together, but I also hope that you're, in AA this year. So it's been a good conversation where it's obviously a lot different than last time. Last time I didn't know any of these guys, and I'm showing up, and I think fair enough. Again, I don't hold any ill will towards them, but I'm sure they were like, okay, what is this? Like, what's going on here? They were all probably curious. And now this time around, a lot of players reaching out, not only from the Yankees, but also the Cardinals and the Astros as well, just congratulating me. So it's been very different this time around, and just again, just feeling really supported.
That's great. Thank you.
Move next to Peter Haskell, 880 WCBS.
Hi, can you hear me?
We got you, Pete.
Great, thank you. So if I can ask you, when did you first start to think about a career in Major League Baseball or professional baseball? And based on the fact there are so few women ahead of you, what made you think you could do it?
This was I played college softball, you know, and to be totally honest, I always thought as a college softball player, fast pitch, I always thought, gosh, baseball's so slow, you know? So I would watch baseball in college and think, but then in my master's degree, a bunch of the guys that had played at New Mexico had gotten drafted. And, you know, as many people don't know, I didn't know about the extensive minor league system and the Dominican Republic and winter ball. And I didn't know all these things. And I just became honestly fascinated with the onion of professional baseball as a business and understanding the lengthy process and journey that these minor leaguers go through. And as a strength coach, you know, I was hearing horror stories about eating hot dogs before the game and working out in the YMCA. And I just thought, I was at LSU at the time, you know, arguably the top of the SEC at that time, and just incredible resources, incredible facilities. And I thought, gosh, you know, what's going on over there? So I really became intrigued with the minor league system. I think a lot of people's stories are, okay, I was a baseball fan, I want to work in the big leagues, I want to be in the show. And my passion was always in the lower levels and the journeys, especially of the Latin American players coming from the Dominican and Venezuela, and, you know, just how long their journeys are. So my passion was always with the minor league system. And, you know, funny story, I started to think about a career in baseball, and I just started, you know, Googling and found a website with a bunch of jobs posted, and all of the jobs were sending emails to men, you know, and I thought, well, that's weird. I was so naive. I was like, well, that's weird. There are no women's names on here. And I went to my boss's office at LSU, Melissa Moore, and I said, Mel, you know, do you know of any women that are working in professional baseball? And she just laughed at me. She was like, there are no women, you know, strength coaches in any men's professional sport. Like, you're crazy. But I think me being naive is just a testament to my upbringing. You know, my father and mother, they deserve an award. They literally raised 3 girls to be absolute hellions. And we didn't know. I literally didn't know that it wasn't possible. So by the time I was 23 and I found out that there weren't any women, I literally still was naive. And I thought, oh, well, you know, I'm at LSU. Like, I have this great young resume for young coach, you know, at that time. And I thought, oh, they'll hire me. And it was quite a bumpy road for a little bit there. But I think that naivete really helped me at first, because I just didn't know what I was up against. And that was great, you know, because I might have stopped.
We go next to Daniel Alvarez with El Extra Base.
Thank you, Jason. Rachel, congratulations and nice to meet you. You mentioned the Spanish-speaking players from the Dominican and Venezuela, and being a Latin media member, I have to ask about the importance of you knowing Spanish and becoming bilingual in order to communicate better with your players, and how important that's going to be. And if I also can ask you for maybe a little message in Spanish of how meaningful this is to you.
So cuando yo aprendí español primero, es mi primer año en béisbol. Yo voy a tratar, yo no voy a ser perfecto, right? Pero mi primer año en béisbol, yo pensaba que cómo yo puedo conectar con los jugadores latinos. Y yo soy de Nebraska, yo soy un lugar sin latinos. So, inmediatamente yo sabía que yo quería aprender español, inmediatamente. Probablemente en 3 meses yo aprendí todo lo que yo necesité a coachar en español en el gimnasio. Y eso es importante, pero lo más importante cosa de eso es relación que tú puedes desarrollar. Si está tratando a aprender la cultura, si está tratando de aprender la lengua, los jugadores pueden ver y tienen mucha precisión por eso, porque hay otros coaches que no están tratando. Y claro, mi español no está perfecto, pero ellos no, they don't care. You know, ellos solo quieren ver que estoy tratando. Y ahora mismo, 10 años más luego, ahora mismo yo tengo la habilidad a conectar mucho mejor porque ahora yo puedo enseñar inglés a ellos. Y I don't know how to say, but when you can be vulnerable, I don't know how to say that word, but they saw me being vulnerable and you know, they get to make fun of me and they get to coach me. Cuando ellos tienen la oportunidad a coachar mí, you know, it changes the dynamic where they can help me with something and I'm helping them. It really helps you to build a relationship. And really, I knew right away when I got in baseball, that was one of the first things that I needed to do to connect with them. And now 10 years later, it's still serving me. Sometimes I miss the days when I didn't speak great Spanish because now I'm close to fluent. I'm not there, but now they just assume that I don't know, grew up with it. And I'm like, no, I learned this. And those early days when I was saying so much funny stuff and they were just laughing at me and correcting me. And it was a really great relationship builder. So.
Right, so you guys can get an idea of like what, you know, she really knows what she's talking about. She's really on her game. But just so Henry, yes, you're right. She's not the first woman in base, you know, to coach in minor or be in baseball, but she is the first woman manager in minor league baseball.
What was funny when she couldn't talk in Spanish, I thought she was live for a second. I was gonna give her the word.
You know, it's funny that's the main point I wanted you to see, actually, that she can actually speak Spanish very well as well. You know, because she communicates with both the minor league players and major and American players. But
that's very interesting to see the way that she took it upon herself to learn it.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, and like what she wants to eventually do.
Yeah, and and so you can see, her as you heard Rachel speak as far as her journey through the system and playing catcher at New Mexico and just and building her way up and apparently just through her words, in my opinion, like she's gonna move up through the system as far as the coaching system pretty quickly, in my opinion.
When she was talking about developing a relationship, I kind of remembered, if I'm correct, and you guys please correct me if I'm wrong, there was a Kevin Costner movie. He was a coach in the Spanish community.
McFarland.
That's what it was?
USA. McFarland, USA.
And he started picking cotton or picking potatoes?
No, that was McFarland was about the U.S. swimming team, though.
No.
But yes, you're right, Harris. It was McFarland, but it was as far as swimming. It wasn't baseball.
It was cross country running.
That's what it was. Yeah, I'm sorry, not swimming. Cross country.
I'm not sure what the crop was, but obviously it was very difficult work, and he tried to show his vulnerability, as you're pointing out, Henry, by putting himself on the line and understanding what his kids were going through by doing the work on top of everything else.
And by trying to have their relationship, it opened up so many new doors for him.
Certainly.
So I was thinking about that as she was speaking. You went through a lot, man.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. I was just so excited to like when I first heard that it was going to be televised on, live through I don't think it was only televised on MLB.com and like the MLB app as far as I know of. I think Yes Record had it broadcasted on the Yes Network as well. But I was just so excited to hear it and so a bunch of those glitch that you saw in there, as far as those little note things that's coming on the screen, that was some of them were notifications from the day when I recorded it, but the other one was from actually the host that was actually doing the whole interview. His like computer was like something about like errors or something that was popping up, so that was from his computer, not mine. But I think she's really gonna do a phenomenal job, and it might, like I said earlier, I don't think she's gonna last long. I mean, gonna be in Tampa. I mean, obviously she'll be in Tampa for a while because she said she enjoys Tampa. She obviously had the passion for the minor league system, and like I said, Tampa. She's just close to Tampa. She lives there and she knows where it's at. But as far as like moving up through the ranks, I'm not. I won't be surprised if like she's like promoted to AA or even AAA within the next year or so.
What I found amazing, her true love for minor league baseball. The last few years, I've been going to a lot of minor league games. Up near you, Harris, the Rockland Boulders. I've been to a bunch of the games. Then when Team Israel came to play them, then in Jersey where the minors play, I think that it's called Somerset. It's a whole world. And then I went with Ian and some of the guys to see the in Brooklyn the
Cyclones.
Cyclones, which I never had a chance to see them. Then also at the Yogi Berra Museum and Learning Center, I got to see the team that practices there. When I went to see when they made the stamp, remember I sent you guys photos of Stamp Day. Bob Costas was talking.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And it was the Jackals that were playing. So they play right literally 10 feet from the Yogi Berra Museum and Learning Center. And it's a deep world at that point. And I want to go see the Renegades. Harris, where did the Renegades come from? I forgot. Near you?
The Renegades, I think, are in Fishkill.
Where were they from? I forgot.
The Renegades as a team have been in the same ballpark up there for quite some time.
Oh, okay.
But they weren't affiliated like they are now. When Staten Island lost, a lot of teams lost their affiliation status. The Renegades picked up the status, I think, of AA.
I remember going there.
Or low A.
And they're very organized in that stadium.
They're Hudson Valley. I just looked it up. It's Hudson Valley Renegades.
Yeah, it's the Hudson Valley Renegades.
So they were always in Hudson Valley under that name?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the Hudson Valley Renegades.
In Brooklyn, we saw them last summer, Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I was just wondering if they were like a team that moved up there. I only went there like once.
Right.
My friend's daughter, he's a coach at DeWitt Clinton. His daughter is a cancer survivor. She was like 16 and they let her throw out the first pitch. So that's the time I went to that stadium.
Oh, gotcha.
Nice.
Yeah, I was searching a little while ago. I mentioned this to the guys on the last meeting, Harris, that I figured out they're the minor league baseball team in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, not far from me. They're affiliated the minor league system under the Cubs.
Cool.
I was like, I just searched it out of the blue. I was like, what? And
I saw a
so-
map somewhere. I think I went to the MLB store on 50th Street and 6th Avenue. They have on the wall this map, all the affiliated teams in that area of Florida. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, most of them, most of the minor league systems, it's like usually Florida. Some of them are like I think like the Western teams. They're like in Arizona somewhere.
Is that called the Cactus League, the Arizona one?
Yes,
I think so.
yes.
And Florida is the FSL, Florida State League.
Yeah.
Now when's the next
Grapefruit
time?
League.
When's the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
time they're gonna have the Caribbean Worlds? Those teams like Puerto Rico and Haiti. I remember Bernie Williams played one year, representing Puerto Rico. I think a couple of
Oh,
years.
you mean where they play? That's usually that. I was watching that one night. It usually happened in the Dominican Republic, and I think I saw a couple of Yankee minor league guys playing. I think Florio was playing.
But wasn't that called the World League? Japan was represented.
The WBC tournament, World Baseball
Right.
Classic.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that every
that's what
2
it was.
years or every year? I
think
forgot.
it's every 4, but I think since COVID, our whole world's changed. So I really haven't heard much about it lately. Because I think they had it in 13 and 17. I don't think they had it last year in 21. I'm not sure though.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because of the world pandemic.
And those stadiums will be sold out when you put like the Spanish channels. They would show it or snip it on ESPN, and it was amazing, electric.
Yeah. Anyhow, let's just keep rolling. As I mentioned earlier, Harris, you weren't on with us yet, but apparently the Players Association and the owners did not agree today, so we're still back to square one in the lockout. No agreement had been made. I keep following Jeff Passan on Twitter all the time, so I'm getting notifications from him as far as he's sending notifications out all the time. Like the past 2 times before today that they didn't agree, he was always saying, "Oh, don't worry, they're meeting again tomorrow," or But I follow a lot of the the trusted writers, for example. So Jeff Passan, Brian Hoach, they're mostly on the up-to-date, like very accurate on news and whatnot. But
Pitchers
which
and
leads us
catchers on the 16th, right? Pitchers and catchers.
apparently that may not happen, Henry, because I mean,
I'm just asking about the generic date.
oh yeah, it's usually around Valentine's Day. But I mean that may not happen now. I mean now we're still in square one of the lockout. So I mean we might not even have a spring training. At worst, there may not even be a 2022 baseball season. But who knows?
But hopefully it doesn't get that bad.
Yeah, let's hope.
And I keep on hearing that the negotiations end at the 11th hour.
11th.
It's gonna be a cliffhanger. Definitely a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Michael Kay said today that it was 11:15.
11:15. Wow.
Okay. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny. The one day I just had it in my head, and I was watching. This is the thought I had in my head one day. It just came to my mind, like I had a craving. I needed to watch like highlight videos of it, and I just thought in my head like how cool it would be if it happened in 2022. That there would be a season for the Yankees like they had in 2017 of Next Man Up. As how you had everyone just step right up and boom, they were just nailing the game.
Well,
You know what
I
I mean?
think
You know what I
what
mean?
happened in 2017 is, in a way, it was a style of baseball. And Matt, I think you're right. It was very appealing. And I think teams are looking for that next man up philosophy now. It's a lot of teams want that because,
Yeah.
one of the things that I recently learned, from my rooting interest in football, why did the Buffalo Bills have less injuries than most other teams? Is they were doing a lot less work on their legs. Have any of you guys heard about this?
Well, I read last week that the Giants players were very upset because of the very tough workouts from Coach Judge.
Right. So the Bills have been doing less quad work, less work on their legs. Still worked, but not at the same level. It distinguished them from the rest of the NFL. And for whatever reason, at the end of the year, even though they didn't play the best football, they were one of the more healthy teams. And so, keeping guys healthy, keeping them available for the season, what I think is happening is exactly what Matt said, is that every team is going to go with that next man up philosophy. I don't think they have a choice. If a guy gets hurt, next guy's got to step in and play ball.
Part of my point, I mean, yeah, that was part of it, but my main point of putting out was, just the hype that the Yankees got as far as when Judge started hitting like crazy in his rookie season. Then, obviously, the back-to-back in 2016 when Judge and the other guy went back-to-back. But I mean, it's just as far as the hype of how these guys, they would just, there's like the next man up as far as, the Yankees were back on like roll. They were just rolling again. That was mainly my point. But yeah.
Okay.
No, go ahead. I finished.
That was, of all the years I worked with the Yanks, 2017, far and away the most fun year, with Aaron Judge hitting the 52. I couldn't wait to go to work that year. And even the next year, they promoted.
Same here.
It was fun.
It was great.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, same here. I gotta agree. Because I was just because it's like you can't eat. Obviously, it was boring for us because like we had to stand around in the suites with like unless we were by like one of those by the elevators or somewhere where there was a TV we could watch the game, or down by the baseball wives suite, we had that big TV that you could see across the crack over the team store there. But otherwise, yeah, because you got into the stadium and you didn't feel that pressure of like, oh God, this team is terrible. Or like that feeling in your head, you'd be like, oh man, like asking your question every single game, it'd be like, oh, can they really get a hit? Can they get a bunch of hits today? You didn't really have that worry now.
Ian, wasn't that the year that Sanchez went up or Judge went up and they hit back home runs?
Yeah. Well, they went on a home run spree in 2016 in the summer, and Gary Sanchez was amazing. That for those last 2 months, he was like a home run machine, a hitting machine. Aaron Judge had a quad pull, so he didn't have a great 16, but Gary was amazing.
Henry, what you're talking about was 2016 when Judge and Tyler Austin went back to back in their first start.
That's right. That Saturday afternoon game.
Yeah, I kind of remember like both guys got home runs on their first at bats.
Tyler Austin.
That was Judge and Tyler Austin.
That's right.
I remember Andrew Resnick come over because I was always talking Judge. He ran over, put me in a bear hug. He says, "You were right. You were right."
The name finally came into my head. Who the other guy was?
Oh, Andrew. Yeah, he was with us for 2 years, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he got in a fight with with one of the Boston catchers or somebody.
Really? Oh. Wow.
I never knew that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was cool.
Well, Ian and Henry worked close enough to the field and the action that even though they may not have been able to see things on TV, they could actually feel every single play and every single pitch.
Oh yeah,
When you're that close.
that would. I'm actually kind of jealous of that because you know what, you're feeling the action where everyone else you're seeing the action.
Yeah, we
the difference between feeling the action and then seeing the action.
Right.
Some of the action we both saw was people coming up to us. I want a yearbook. Could you get me a bat? Could you in the middle of the 5th inning? I want a baseball.
Oh yeah, the promo items that would be. Or can I get a poncho? Can I get a program?
I taught myself how to listen, and it was I could tell this. I swear I could tell the difference between balls and strikes and singles,
Right.
doubles, triples. It was
By
amazing.
listening.
Right.
Yeah, by listening.
We weren't allowed to look, Happy.
I saw somebody on the news in a desperate situation, and it was really bad. And I don't remember because it was from a few years ago, but they were wearing a game day Yankee poncho. And I'm thinking either Henry or Ian just saved this guy's life.
Oh, yes. That was
Do you know what I'm talking about, Ian? I think I mentioned this to you.
Yeah, because it was, sometimes the rain would come out. If it was a night gate, the rain would come out of nowhere. We didn't know about it. It was a wild scene down there.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a couple of 3 or 4 hour delays?
Oh, God, remember that? Yeah. I'll never forget that Detroit game. They had a window. It was an afternoon game, weekday. They had a window. They didn't start till like 2:40 in the afternoon. Then we had a long delay, and we actually shut out by a weak Detroit team. It must have been close to 8 o'clock that night.
I remember my longest rain delay working an event at the stadium.
Yeah. Oh, the
20
rain delay.
It wasn't a baseball game. It was actually a concert.
Oh, yes, yes.
2015, Garth Brooks and
The country
Trisha
guy.
Yearwood.
The country guy.
That's right.
Yeah, Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. Me and Mike Bauman. We're down at 117 A and B. I think Mike had 115. He had the 115 booth there. I had 117, like A and B there. We're standing there and talk about a 6.5 hour rain delay.
Yeah.
The show was supposed to start at 8 p.m. It didn't start till 4 hours later at midnight and ended at 2:15 the next morning.
Sure.
However, so many people were running for shelter. The entire concourse was completely
packed.
Tight. Like, I mean, it was a crime scene. There was like, you couldn't go anywhere. It was almost like Zombieland. Me and Mike, we're up against the box suite, and not even an inch of space in front of us.
I remember the first time Miss Gerard put me on first base in Legends. I'm standing there and I hear somebody yelling from the field. It was Big Papi yelling at them. They were yelling at each other, the fans.
Oh, wow.
But jokingly, but yelling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like what Harris said, we felt it. I'm standing right there and I'm like, who's he yelling at? And it was somebody behind me. And he's like looking straight at me. I'm like, it was
Tell me about that, because I just watched For the Love of the Game. So like in the scene when one of the Yankee fans is like yelling out like crazy against Billy Chappell. It's like, who the heck are you yelling at? But
remember the guy Ian, remember the guy? A-Rod! A-Rod! Always yelling for A-Rod.
Oh, I know that young man. And the funny thing,
Harris, he wore hockey shirts.
Yeah.
Yes, the Islanders.
Yeah, Islanders. And you talk to him one-on-one. That kid had the softest voice you ever heard in your life when he wasn't screaming.
He was normal.
He was a gentleman. Yeah. he was. I never did catch his name, but he was really a nice kid.
And I remember there was a guy that they caught him at the end. He used to make his own tickets.
I know which fellow. Yeah.
Harris. He came to every game. I was wondering, how does he do it?
That's every day.
There's a video on YouTube. Joel, you don't see Joel, but Joel is really angry with him from Securitas. Really giving you a rough time.
He didn't come to one game a series. He came to every game.
Oh, and he was always dressed up in Aaron Judge garb.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. A lot of nice people.
Well, as you know, Judge is now a married man.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
His high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was
Seen
from the
her
West.
up at the elevator.
Was he from the West Coast?
Yeah, Northern California, Linden, California.
Judge was from California, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
I remember one time we were getting ready to go to work, and there's a gentleman next to me tells me, "Excuse me, could you put my tie for me?" It was Joe Torre.
Really? Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, sir, whatever you want, because he couldn't make a tie.
We could make it. Wow.
you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Speaking of when I watched For the Love of the Game today, there was actually a segment in there that actually reminded me of Mike Mussina against Joe Torre when he pointed at him. He's like, "You stay right there."
Right. Yes.
There's a segment in For the Love of the Game that like Chappell, he's like,
yes.
they were concerned about his arm or something, and he's like, and he didn't even get out or start the umpire or the manager didn't even come out or anything, but they were like talking about Henry turned his video off, but they're talking about like getting the bullpen ready, and he's like, "I'm fine, stay right there."
Yes.
I know Harris and I have a favorite movie, Sugar.
That's great.
From Showtime. Yeah, and when they show Crown, I just go wild. I go,
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
I love
too.
that.
A lot of good memories.
Unbelievable. Yeah. We could all of us, we could write a short story about that place. Amazing.
Very, very true.
More than anything. It's
There he is. I lost your video feed for a minute, Henry.
I had to go to the bathroom.
Oh, good cut, good shot taking it off though.
Have you guys seen the movie that Ian just mentioned?
Which
one?
Sugar.
Sugar.
I think I've seen pieces of it.
Yeah.
It takes place largely in the Crown Diner, where we used to hang out.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, cool.
You
obviously gotta watch
would
the whole thing.
recognize some of the guys,
the
waiters, and
the owner, of course.
And the owner, of course, yes.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
It never opened up again, right?
No.
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 Oh wow.
We have some great times over there. Wow. There would be a half dozen or more of us sometimes.
Yeah, from Crown to even the Crown Diner, but then also even the place across the street as well.
Courthouse, the Courthouse Deli.
Yeah, the courthouse. That's what it was.
Yeah, I spent my last year or so over there.
Yeah.
Hoppy, if I remember, you always a lot of the time you went to Dunkin' for a coffee. What was it?
Right.
Well, anytime we had a day, mostly whenever we had a day game, I would be there like maybe 3 hours ahead of 3 to 4 hours ahead of time we had to check in. Mike Collin was the same way. He would be in the parking garage at like 2 to 3 hours ahead of the check-in time.
Wow. Yeah.
We were both like the same time, and he got me into, well, first off, Mike Collins got me into first doing as far as app ordering and whatnot. So like you just order stuff and then it's like ready for you right there. Instead of like you actually have to go up to the counter, order, and then wait for your thing. You do it right through the Dunkin' Donuts app. You just add money onto your Dunkin' Donuts card, and then it's like boom, it's ready. He got me into that, and so like any morning, any day games that we had to like be there at like, you know, we had to check in at like maybe 10 a.m. or so. I would be there at like, you know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, you know, and then just be at Dunkin' Donuts, just chilling out.
Sure.
I remember having to take the Metro North literally 2.5 hours early to make sure I didn't get there 1 minute late.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'm continuing to read the my book again. I started getting into it. It's called Saved at the Seawall. It's all about the whole rescue operations by water on 9/11, but they go through the whole, it talks so far how I get through it. It talks through the whole process, how the Metro North was shut down, the MTA was shut down, the Long Island Railroad, etc.
Yeah, remember that day. Yeah.
Just how that was all shut off. Ian, you said you just walked out of the World Trade Center just before it hit, right?
No, I was there a half hour before, and I took the path to Jersey. So a half hour I missed it by, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I was
That's
close
right.
on time anyhow.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm still
at that time, I was supposed to be at the World Trade Center at B. Dalton's. There was a book I was going to buy that had my first photo in a book from the NFL.
Oh, wow.
And I was in Jersey City. I got on the train, and something just told me, do it after work.
Oh.
So instead of going to downtown, I went uptown. And and 8 minutes later, when I got to Christopher Street, the first plane crashed already. I would have been there.
Yeah. Well, if you remember the story I told you guys a long time ago, that I read about Adam Wainwright.
Yes, that's right.
Him and his brother, they were driving into New York for a job interview that was going to take place in the World Trade Center, in the top North Tower. Their meeting was scheduled for that Tuesday morning. They got up that morning, way before the interview even was even happening, and him and his brother, they were like, let's just blow off the interview and go do something else. So they decided to go. I don't remember reading where they went or whatnot, but they blew the interview off. But just imagine what it would have been if him and his brother went to that interview. It's funny. I was just listening to CC Sabathia's podcast with Ryan Russo, R2C2, and they had Wainwright on. They had Wainwright on that episode, but he didn't bring that up. But I mean, as soon as I was listening to it, that popped in my mind, that incident.
Well, what was amazing, I wanted to add before, Yankees, as far as an organization, always tried to be at the forefront helping. And then remember when Mr. Steinbrenner was approached by Mayor Giuliani? Mayor Giuliani, what I remember was I was going to pay to rent the stadium and security to have like an interfaith meeting of, and then what I remember learning and sharing many times was Mr. Steinbrenner said, no, I'll pay for everything. You don't have to worry.
Sure. I remember that. It was that Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then when baseball came back, it was really big. And then to top it off, you guys didn't mention this yet, but the first stadium, I think, in America to give the vaccine was Yankee Stadium. That was in the winter, like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
I believe you're right. Yankee Stadium was the first baseball stadium to be a vaccine station.
Yeah, then
I think you're
everybody
right.
else follows suit.
Yeah.
Look at 9/11 too. I mean, look at Yankee Stadium, the game that George Bush threw out the first pitch.
Oh, I was there.
Of how much security was around this Yankee Stadium.
They had so many police dogs in the lobby that night. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Police dogs all over.
Wow. Yeah, so like an organization, historically, they've been at the forefront of doing great things.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I was at the stadium. It was pregame. I was downstairs, and there was the police dog with the policeman and everything. And I petted the dog, and I said to the policeman, "These dogs are the real heroes of the game." And he was so gratified. He couldn't even talk. The policeman, but I really meant it.
And I remember when I first got the job there, I was gonna learn baseball because I really was. I grew up playing baseball, but I wasn't into it. But I would hear the stories because I grew up in the Bronx.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the more you learn about American history, the Yankees have a part in it. It's like amazing. And that's when I used to call Harris. Remember, I used to bother you. What DVD should I get? 46? Should I get 27? And then you would tell me, I'm like, I'm pestering the poor guy.
No pestering.
And then I found the host, and then I found the whole set on Amazon.
Like to welcome. I say they got to deal with it. Not only do they deal with it, but after living in the city, become part of the rhythm.
Somebody watching a video?
Yeah, here's something.
Visiting them.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'll just keep moving. My next segment is going to be a little off baseball, but Henry wanted me to talk about it. And first off, I'm the device I'm on is my new iPad. I got the new iPad of 2021. It's 256 gigabytes, so it's plenty of space. Pretty blazing fast. There's a camera feature that's built into it called Center Stage, to where like wherever I'm moving my head, it's like it keeps my head focused, so it's like not moving around. But the main thing I wanted to talk about that I brought up to Henry that he suggested that I maybe bring up is we were talking on the phone one day, and I brought up about, you know, when it comes to devices, is when it comes to like one of the main key things I'm mainly concerned about as far as smartphones and whatnot is software updates, because software updates not only comes with, you know, a software update and new features and this and that, but it's also security patches, because smartphones today, they are probably the most vulnerable thing to be, because there's tons of hackers out there. I mean, you never know, like somebody could steal your information just within a heartbeat and whatnot. So it's like just an important thing to me as far as, you know, keeping my phone software up to date, keeping, you know, and because it also comes with security patches and whatnot. And then another thing too is, you know, storage sizes. It's like, it's nice to have, I mean, years ago, you could live off of a 16 gigabyte iPhone of space. Today, though, it's like double the size, so you could hardly even live off of a base iPhone of 64 gigabytes these days. I mean, if you're not a big photographer guy, so you don't have a lot of photos and whatnot on your phone, well, then you're fine. But I mean, if you have a lot of photos and videos, you'll definitely want more space, because videos take up the most space of all on devices. So it is always important to you know, make sure your phones are up to date on software and whatnot. Now I mean, speaking on Ian and Henry, because they have Android devices, which Android is the software that's run by Google. Google controls that. However, the thing about Android is there's so many manufacturer phones out there that run Android. So it's up to the manufacturers and the carriers to see which phones get that software update. So like Android 12 is the latest one out right now. So say Henry might be getting a software update on his phone tomorrow, but Ian's phone may not get the software update. So Android, it's a little bit more complex, where iOS, it's controlled by one particular company, which is Apple. They control the hardware and the software, so it's kind of like, so it's a little bit more simplicity, but it's just something to, you know, Henry's idea was to, like, you know, just bring it up, just something to think about as far as, you know, looking at your phones, looking at the storage space, seeing, you know, going in there, maybe organizing and saying, oh, okay, I don't really use this app, I could delete it, or, you know, I can get rid of some old photos that I never look at, or, you know, videos that I don't look at anymore, don't watch. Just those kind of things, you know, to look into.
I think I'm going to get rid of Spotify.
Spotify.
Good point, Harris, because Spotify has been coming under a lot of criticism lately. Yeah. I forget who it was, but you know what I mean.
Neil Young and Joni Mitchell.
I think I may have tried Spotify like once, but I mean I just always, like, all the podcasts, you know, there's like, oh, they're on almost every podcast application. I just use everything on Apple's podcast side.
Yeah, they had a podcast that was hosted by Joe Rogan, who allegedly was spreading a lot of misinformation about
that's
the
who it was.
vaccine.
That's who it was. That's who I'm talking about then. But speaking of that, to point out two great podcasts that you guys might like, and they're like top notch. They know what they're talking about. Like, one is the Bronx Pinstripe Show. These guys, they're just phenomenal. I mean, they talk criticism of the Yankees and whatnot a lot, but I mean, they are like spot on. They keep people like locked into the show and whatnot. And then the other one is on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's Locked On Yankees, and the two ladies on the show, they do a great job as well. A couple of episodes, they talked about the main issue it is of what is really happening to baseball. I mean, completely, you know, like, it's not only the players that are hurting right now, it's the fans too. That's why, you know, the owners are losing money they think they're losing money because they're obviously they weren't, because they just played 162 game last season. But you know, how can you configure that you're going to get money coming in if you're not, you know, selling tickets to the fans, you know? So you can't just blame the players for all
You're
that.
absolutely right. It's a great point, because, listen, billionaires and millionaires, the players and the owners may be trying to settle off what's best for them, and that's all well and good. They've got to do that. But you're right. If people don't pay attention to the fans, baseball is really going to have a self-inflicted wound that could be really very damaging to the sport. The fans will not tolerate.
That's right.
The fans
I've
will
been
not
telling
tolerate
I've been telling Ian, Henry, and the guys across our group chat. It's it's just like I've been telling them the whole time. That I've been critical of Yankee Stadium. Compared, if you want to talk about a fan-friendly stadium, in my opinion, Citi Field had a much better fan-friendly experience compared to Yankee Stadium. I think their concessions are more reasonably priced compared to Yankee Stadium. So it's just it's just much more friendly experience. I think in most of the amount of times I went there, it was much more of a fan-friendly experience compared to being at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Yankee Stadium, it's in some ways the pricing, the construction of the stadium, there's plenty for the everyday fan, but there's also a lot for a very elite crowd.
Oh, we see
You're
that.
right.
And we're the ones who have seen that,
See firsthand.
When Ian and I and Henry were young kids in the city, and we go to a ball game, we're just happy with a hot dog and a glass of soda in the game. And now people are getting seafood and
sushi.
Just
it's
sushi,
really changed.
It's
everything,
When
and they want the baseball, like Henry said. They want the baseball delivered to them also. It's a whole different level of expectation.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
We would load up our pockets with quarters, and everybody would buy a round of the hot dog soda all day, and we were happiest people in the world. We paid $1.30 to sit up top. It didn't matter. We were thrilled. We were ecstatic.
Absolutely.
That's right.
That's true.
I heard you say that once before, Ian.
Yeah. Oh, those were such great days,
Yeah.
I remember going to the outfield, the bleachers,
right?
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
It was great.
Real fun, too.
It was great. There was always a part for me, sitting in the fourth deck, way, way, way out in left field, probably in fair territory in left field. I remember thinking, wonder what it's like. I wonder what it's like to be behind the plate, or, it was beyond what most of us could envision. And, the stadium has changed to cater to the people who can get behind home plate.
Sure.
And, and that, and the big prices reflect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Henry.
I remember standing down at my spot and looking up to the grandstand and wishing I had pulled to bring everybody down so they could experience it.
Yeah.
Even if it was for 2 innings or 1 inning.
Right.
And I would look up and then I would see afterwards you kind of learn how to meet them, but like the single dad with 3 kids, or the mother whose father, the husband is working, she has 3 or 4 children, and they're sitting all the way up, and I'm like, wow, I wish I could bless them in some way.
So
it is awesome to be down there.
It is awesome. I have a story that reflects a little bit about what Matt was talking about. And there was a guy who his dad was a cop, and when he wasn't working as a cop, he would go down to the stadium and stuff, and he got very friendly with vendors. Well, anyway, this particular guy, his son, he was always able to get his son Freddie into the ball game, And then what happened was Freddie became a vendor, and he was there so long that he had his own stand. He was one of 2 or 3 vendors that weren't selling for Legends. He would have to buy from Legends, but he had his own stand in the stadium. And last year, after 49 years, you got to imagine going back all these years from when his dad was a cop and took him to the games, and he started selling beer and carrying it around and working his way up till he had his own stand. The Yankees didn't invite him back. So his stand near where Sam's office is at the 250 on the 200 level,
Right.
200.
by the elevator.
Sure.
By the elevator
Yeah.
where Sam is.
That's around left field there.
And in left field is no longer there, and there's sort of like a little bar there now. And they just, the year when there were no fans, what was that? It was
2020.
2020. They, none of us were there, and then 2021, they didn't have them come back, and so there was 49 years of continuity. But he works still at Citi Field as a vendor, and sells the merchandise and stuff, and talks about, even though he's from the Bronx and has a heart for the Yankees, like what Matt said, he found Citi Field to be a lot more user friendly to the fans.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend. His name is Jerry Shine. 2020 was his 50th anniversary, and he still hasn't done his 50th year yet. We text here and there, and they haven't called him back yet after all this time. He's heartbroken. He just wants that 1 year.
So when they call the numbers for people to come in, is that what you're saying?
He has a stand where he does the scorecards. Well, we used to call scorecards. Now it's the book, the magazine.
The book, right? The program.
Great stories. He can't get that 50th year in yet. It's driving. He's younger than I am.
Yeah. Freddie can't get his 50th year either, and I don't think he will. Last year he missed out on it. That's a tough milestone to miss after 50 years, putting himself through college, putting his boys through college. He was a teacher regularly.
Yeah.
And then finally he had a chance to get his 50th year in. His boys, one is an attorney, one is a doctor. Periodically, they came to work with him at that stand on the 200 level, all gone.
All gone, that's right.
Like a little bar or something there now.
Great story.
All the people from downstairs in Legends, the outside, they haven't been there for 2 years now.
Right.
All the people I worked with on
all those people.
Years. Yeah, I see a few of them on Facebook, but
You mean like the order takers and the servers, right?
Right.
Who was the guy that worked for us, came to work drunk a bunch of times, and then the next year when he came back, he was one of the alcohol compliance guys.
Oh, and you want to hear a great story about him? One Saturday, he joined me at the Garden. He was in my store Saturday, Sunday. Finally, the Sunday, you saw my coworkers he didn't like us. What kind of mean people do you work with? And that was the last time I ever saw him. He worked with me for 2 nights and he walked out. I forgot. I know what he looks like, but I forgot his name.
Yeah.
I remember my
Do you
first
remember the guy
year.
I'm talking about?
Yeah, he was. I know he had the problem, but he was funny when he had to be.
No, in some ways a real good guy. I mean,
he was just
I remember I was in front of a suite, and he was going into all the suites drinking.
Oh my God!
And then he would come out more blasted than when he went in. So he wanted to go into my suite. I said, "You can't do that. You can't do that."
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
On the way down from where the field suites are, as you go down, there's the metal railing in the stairs, that you hold on to when you walk down. I go downstairs. Sam says to me, check downstairs. I go downstairs and he's literally laying on the rail.
Oh,
his feet crossed,
I think
balancing
I think
himself.
I saw that incident.
yeah.
Did you see it? And I said to him, listen,
Yeah, I believe
I hate to wake you.
I can
I hate
picture
to
it.
bother
I
you,
don't know if I remember, but
but you
When-
are working and your boss doesn't want you to be taking a siesta here.
yeah.
One
mean,
time he's yelling at me. He says, "I know more than you do." I'm about to get mad, and Katie waits. No, don't say anything. Don't say. Just let him go.
What about?
I had a jerk like that, and I had a jerk like that in 2014, I believe. 2014 and I believe 2015 as well. One was obviously a drunk ass on, like as we always had to get people off of holding on to the box suite all the time. So one guy was like a smart ass just saying, "Oh, can I stand here? Can I stand here? Can I stand here?" It overwhelmed me a little bit, but Tia actually stepped in and helped me out on that. The other crazy incident that I saw was 2014. I came in a little bit late, but and nobody was at the desk. I just checked myself. The list was on the desk, so I saw myself that, oh, I'm downstairs. Okay, 117, whatever. And so I go downstairs. I get downstairs and whatnot. First thing I witnessed was a guy was being escorted out by an NYPD officer.
Wow.
But
I remember Ian had a friend. I won't mention her name.
Okay. I know who.
Harris.
Yeah.
We'll be standing in the suite section. Then she heard somebody walked in. She went smack running to get an autograph.
Yeah, she was. I was the one who introduced her to the job because he worked at the Garner. She was a hoot.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I know who it is.
Let me not mention the night you guys, Harris and Ian, had to deal with who that had a terrible night with the party suites, if you know what I mean. All right, I'll throw it out. The night you guys had the Little League baseball team.
Oh yes. We had the tours those days. Oh yes.
They had the Jackie Robinson bobblehead night.
Yeah.
And that
it started destroying them like crazy.
We were so aggravated. I said, let's just go to what do you call it? The museum. I grabbed a group of them and I showing them things, important things, and they go, "How much are the baseballs worth?" I says, "Oh, never mind. It's the history." I'm going crazy.
They're just acting like 4-year-olds.
And
I remember
saying, I think it was to that group of kids, you got, if we go down to a museum, you got to behave. I says, you got to behave like you're in school. And they looked at me and said, but we don't like school.
You know what's funny? They actually, that's how the Children's Museum's been getting treated like, I hate to say, is parents come in there, let their kids make a mess and whatnot. But then it's like we get tired. It's like, okay, do the parents realize, or can at least have at least a little thought of, as far as like teaching their kids, how to clean up after themselves, putting stuff back where they were. Like we have a grocery store exhibit, and then kids, they just want to throw the groceries back wherever they want, instead of like putting back, okay, the fruit goes where the fruit goes, the milk goes in the refrigerator, the lasagna goes in the freezer, the pizza goes in the freezer, that kind of thing. It's just like
a lot of parents won't take the responsibility.
That's right.
They really should.
You're right, they don't.
I remember when I gave when I started to give tours, I was near the back 50 something, one of those suites. And Miss Gerard said, it's a big group. Can you do it? Oh yeah, sure. A piece of cake. So then I go in it was a big group. So then Ian knows who said it. I forgot the guy's name. And the guy told me, yeah, go down those stairs all the way at the end. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, go down those stairs.
Oh yeah, I think I remember
So
this.
we go down, but I never went down those stairs. So they have an extra level. So
Yeah,
I
by
will
the
go-
dock. By the dock in left field, right.
He probably went down the ramp then.
So I'm coming up. I'm like, I open the door. I'm like, this isn't it, man. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
Remember,
used, I
Ian,
used
when
to
it
get
happened to
I
me?
used to get lost on that stairway myself.
No, let me tell you what happened. I go back up a flight, and I'm like, this must be the way to go about. I opened the door, and it was like the executive entrance.
Right.
And then I'm like, I gotta get out of here, man. So I opened the door, and you ever see the commercial when everybody comes out of the Volkswagen? Clowns keep on coming out.
Yeah.
It had to be like 35 people came out.
Yeah.
And then I dismissed them. Then I go back upstairs and Miss Gerard says like this. With a finger. And I'm like,
kind of like that kind of reminds me of like Tom Hanks in A League to Be Owned when he calls over Madonna. It's like,
and then obviously what happened when everybody came out, the Steinbrenners were coming in. They had to stop to wait for the people to leave. And then they went another way, and Levine was there.
Yeah.
And everybody had to wait till my group left.
Yeah,
And
God
then-
forbid they should have to wait, right, Henry?
No, but it was I'm like, and I would never get the person in trouble. Remember, Ian? And
Yeah,
I
I
didn't want
remember
to I didn't want to get the person in trouble, but it was like, oh my God.
I think I remember when that happened.
And
so
then
I'm gonna,
yeah, okay.
The reason I
Sorry.
remember it is
Yeah.
Samantha went like this. Tell Henry never to go that way again.
No,
Yeah.
she told me, she called me to a room, and then apparently they call her on the carpet.
Yeah.
And then to top it off, that's when I had those leg problems. Remember, I was always in pain.
yeah.
So I'm just trying to stand up.
But since we've been over an hour, I'm gonna move into the closing. And just to start it off, I thought I found this video on YouTube, and I thought it was like a really cool gesture to enter our closing. So so I'm gonna go back into YouTube, okay? And we are gonna. There's actually two videos I want to play, but I want to play this one. Well, first I'll just show this one real quick.
Alvarez lines it to right. Judge is
gesture.
there, trying to throw behind the runner. A good throw gets him. Double play. What a play by Aaron Judge.
And who would have thought that one?
Wow. I think he's and Mookie Betts are
That's
neck
the
and neck.
game where he had the
But
second put out. at
Bregman
the
gets
plate,
off this
correct?
lead. He's going to
It's
slip
a double
coming back.
play. He
So
caught
he
it,
sees the
and then
ball
he
at the
threw
bat.
him out.
He heads towards second. Now watch him stop right
He
there.
ju- he
And right
jumped right
there,
there,
that
but
slip. That's
slipped.
all it took. A
And he
cannon.
realized it's too late. Yeah.
One of the best throwers of the baseball, Aaron Boone, will tell you that Aaron Boone value in right field may not.
So now I'm just gonna move to our
The
closing.
overtime went into overtime. What do? You turn to DiGiorno to be MVP. MV
I thought this,
Pizza.
I thought
Fresh
this
baked
video would
taste.
be a cool
The win and
gesture for
move.
the closing.
It's not delivery, it's
what the ad
DiGiorno.
was.
I don't know if they're going to bring in Mo or Daly. Betances is going to depart. And it looks like it's going to be Mo. Greatness coming into the Yankee game for the final time here in the Bronx.
Number 42, Mariano Rivera. Number 42.
Hello?
Well, his career began with the Yankees in 1995 as a starter against the Angels. He struggled, went down to the minor leagues, came back as a reliever. In 96, he was the setup man for John Wetland. In 97, he took over the closer's role. He has been in that role ever since, and he is very simply the greatest who has ever done this job. And we have had the privilege of watching him all these years.
That sign is so true. It won't be the same without Mariano Rivera. I think I heard you mention the Yankees almost traded him back in the day.
They weren't quite sure about Derek Jeter being the everyday shortstop in 96, so they were thinking about trading for Felix Fermin. They decided not to. And Mo stayed, and the rest is history.
Alvarez lines it to right. Judge.
Matt, I'm going to have to jump off. I've got some personal issues and stuff going on.
Yeah, we're just actually I'm just gonna end it right now because I was just gonna end that video and just say it's great to see everyone. Harris, I'm glad you stayed with us towards the end. And
I see you, Harris.
And I'm glad we you know we actually had a subject to talk about, like because you know all the others, Harris, we just talked about, you know, random stuff. We didn't really have a subject to like think about. But it was just so that'll just wrap it up right there as far as, you know, thanks again guys for joining. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself, especially with the, you know, obviously I'll send this out to you guys once. Because I always watch the playback just to make sure everything went through. It'll probably will, because all the others that I recorded have turned out to be great. But so
okay.
But have
Great
yourself
to see you guys.
have a great night, and we'll chat again later.
Okay, go Yankees.
Guys,
Go Yankees. Like the guys on Talking Baseball, he's like, tell them, Graham, go Yankees.
Thank you. Okay, guys.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You guys too.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.